Today we are making lasagna soup, and my friends, we are gonna do it in our Instant Pot so it doesn't get any simpler or frankly more fun. I'm gonna be using gluten-free lasagna noodles. I actually made these, and I stored them in my freezer in a previous episode, so I will link that recipe above. If you don't already have made gluten-free lasagna noodles, you can use any kind of gluten-free pasta that you like, and I will include some suggestions in the description box below. First thing we're gonna do is make our meatballs, but in order to do that, I have here, if you know me, then you know, I do not like chunks in sauce. It just doesn't mesh well with my unique self. And so I'm gonna puree all of these things, but for the meatballs, we're gonna need a combination of the fresh onion and garlic, and this is an insane amount of garlic. If you know me, then you know I love garlic. Everything is gonna be written in the description box below, but I also have a fabulous recipe card for you, so be sure to stay all the way through the end of the video so you can snap a screenshot of it so that you can easily make this recipe at home. So I'm gonna grab my Vitamix and blend this up really simply. Okay, so to our Vitamix, I am going to add in the onion. And remember, this is for the entire sauce and meatballs, but we're gonna reserve some. So first I'm gonna just throw that in. You can use a blender. You can also just chop it up by hand if you like and eat it like that, but that's not the way I like it. A food processor is probably easier, except I like how pureed it gets in the Vitamix. And so you just gotta, work it a little bit. You can use an immersion blender also, but mine broke, so. If you have an immersion blender that is not garbage like the one I had, I would love to know what kind you had. And don't worry that we added water, it's gonna be just fine. And so you could see it's pureed perfectly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna reserve about maybe 1/4 of a cup for the meatballs. So I'm simply going to, I'd say let's do 1/4 of a cup. There's nothing like fresh inside of sauce. Let's wipe that off. So I'm gonna set this with the other meatballs. Now what we're gonna do, straight into this, we're gonna just throw that carrot. Trust the process. Now with this, I'm gonna just leave this in the Vitamix for right now because we're gonna need this blender one more time to do the tomatoes. So I'm just gonna leave that there. So now let's get our meatballs going. So, take my ring off. We've got our turkey, so to that, we're gonna add our dried spices. Remember, everything is linked or written out in the description box below, so you don't have to guess. We're gonna add milk. This is almond milk that I made. I do have a recipe for how to make that on this channel, and I will link that in the card above. The onion and garlic mixture we just whipped up. Friends, I am mostly dairy-free, but for meatballs, I do love a good Pecorino Romano cheese. I don't have any breadcrumbs in the recipe card. On the recipe card, I have 1/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs. I'm using buckwheat flour, which works really great also. We are gonna need an egg, so I'm gonna crack it separately. 1 egg. Now I'm actually gonna wet my hands a little bit and just mix up this mixture. You can use gloves if you want, but I don't. I love little meatballs in a lasagna soup. I feel like it's just so good. You could alternatively just like fry up ground beef or ground turkey and not do the meatballs, but I think it's better with the meatballs. There's just a lot more flavor. Okay. Wow, I can smell the flavor in these. They're gonna be amazing. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Breadcrumbs would help it from seeming so sticky, but I don't mind this. So now we're gonna need a plate, which I should have grabbed, but I didn't. We're gonna roll out meatballs about like this size. Like, we want them to be really little. You could use a scoop so that they're all exactly the same, but I don't mind doing them like this. Now we're gonna get our sauce going, and so I just have a can of whole peeled tomatoes, and I'm gonna puree this in the same blender, but I'm gonna remove the carrot mixture because I wanna kind of cook that down a little bit because of the onion, and then we're gonna add the sauce on top. So now I'm just gonna add that can of tomatoes. I'm gonna be careful not to splash it because it can make a huge mess. I really like the flavor of these canned tomatoes, so that's why I use it. You can skip this step if you just buy tomato sauce instead. Finito. Now we're gonna grab our Instant Pot. Okay, so we're gonna set our Instant Pot to saute. Make sure it's set to saute on high. I must have been right on it and went right past it. We're gonna allow this to get hot, and then we're gonna add our oil and start doing our meatballs. Okay, so now with this oil, I'm not gonna add all of it. I'm just gonna add about half of it and save the other half in case we need it. So this is about 2 tablespoons. I love to pick the liner up and swirl it around to just fully coat it. Okay, so now we're going to drop those meatballs in. I love a one-pot meal. What about you? So then what I do is I pick it up, and you can see some of them are sticking. That is okay, my friends. These meatballs were definitely more wet than usual because I did not have any breadcrumb. So that makes them stick a little bit more, but it's okay. It's going inside a soup. And I love showing that things do not have to be perfect. Otherwise, cooking can seem very, very intimidating. Like if it doesn't come out like Instagram worthy, then you screwed it up, when that's simply not the case. And actually, I'm gonna add the rest of that olive oil because that'll probably help. I think what I'm gonna do is just crowd the pan at this point. Just let them cook. Starting to develop some nice color. Again, these meatballs it's a mess, friends, but it is okay. Trust the process. It's almost like I've just got ground beef without the meatballs, but at least there's all the flavor, so that's what I'm going by, is the flavor. And I need just a couple of good-looking meatballs for the thumbnail. I know I said this was an Instant Pot recipe, but I also just put the rest in my air fryer, and we'll see if this works better. Kind of a mess, friends, kind of a mess. Where, oh where did we go wrong, right? Now I'm simply gonna take this ground up meat that is no longer a meatball, and I'm gonna just set it aside because I'm gonna clean the bottom of this pot because this is a flipping mess. Gonna add in some more olive oil. Swirl it around. Now we're gonna add in that carrot mixture. Carrot, onion. I'm just gonna use the same dirty spoon. Everything's getting in here anyway. Now, have you ever put carrots inside of your lasagna soup before, or even sauce? It's a great way to sweeten it up and also to get some extra nutrients. We want that onion to really soften and cook down a little bit. Man, my house smells amazing. If you make this recipe, be sure to tag me in it too and send me pictures. Looking good. Okay, that looks about perfect. Now we're gonna add in that red wine. I love a dry red wine. This was a Petite Syrah, one of my favorites. If you don't do wine, you can just do extra broth or water. The wine really gives it a depth of flavor, and the alcohol cooks away. And I always have dry red wine in my house. Okay, that's looking really good. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add those dried spices. Again, everything will be on that recipe card at the end. I added all the dried spices except the bay leaves because I don't want to crush them accidentally. And I just want the dried spices just to cook a little bit. This did also include a little bit of organic cane sugar. I don't really do sugar, but I do put sugar in sauce. You could do honey or maple syrup or monk fruit or something else, but it's only a teaspoon, so I just go for it. I'm just using one of these containers of the Kettle on Fire. You could use whatever you have, and you don't have to do beef. You could do chicken. You could just do water. But the beef really gives it a nice flavor. Oops. That's why I wear an apron. This is how they turn out in the air fryer. It looks a little bit better. Now, I did say I added all the dried spices, but I'm gonna do some fresh black pepper. 15 cracks. I am going to add this ground turkey, my turkey meatballs. Don't they look delicious? Wait till you see the ones in the air fryer. They look much better. It's fine, I promise, it will be fine. I had made ground sausage links. I had made these and had them in actual lasagna. I had extra. So these are already cooked. This is like a clean out your fridge or whatever recipe. So if you already have something else cooked, even pieces of cooked sirloin or chicken would be really good. Okay, and it's frozen, but I'm not worried about it because it's getting in this hot liquid and it's already cooked. Remember, friends, it's already cooked. So these turned out much better. Much better. This is what I was going for, and I did not succeed. So we're just gonna put these in here. I'm glad I did these separate. It's because the meatballs were so wet. And I knew that doing it, but I did it anyway. I did it anyway. Hashtag real life. So I don't wanna break the meatballs up, but wow, this is really coming together. It's gonna be so good. We're getting there, friends. We're getting there. We're gonna do 4 cups of filtered water. Then we're gonna take in the sauce, pour it in. And what I like to do is just put a little bit of water in the container, maybe like another half of a cup. I am not gonna stir this now because I put all that tomato stuff in there. I don't wanna get the burn signal. What I am gonna do is put in those 2 bay leaves. If you are using uncooked lasagna noodles, put them in now, but we are not. So, close the lid. We're gonna set our Instant Pot to high pressure for 6 minutes. So the Instant Pot's pin just popped up, meaning that it's getting ready to actually start. So we don't have a lot of time left, which is great. So now I've just got a lot of fresh basil. I love fresh herbs. I don't have any fresh parsley. If you have fresh parsley, by all means use that also. And you don't want to cook this into it because it doesn't need to be cooked in there. We want to add this at the end when we're essentially like, and I should have dried this basil more, but friends, I'm doing a lot of things at once and I'm filming. So that's my excuse for the day. So now I have all of the lasagna that I told you I had already cooked. So I pulled it out, it's nice and defrosted. I pulled it out of my freezer. So if you already have cooked lasagna, this is what you would do. And we're simply gonna just tear it into pieces because we don't wanna eat a huge piece like this in soup. And you could put as many lasagna noodles in as you want. You could use a penne pasta, you could cook the pasta in the lasagna soup, you can just call it pasta soup. You can do whatever you like. I look forward to this every single time I make these noodles, but you don't have to already have lasagna noodles made. Again, I cannot stress that enough. But if you do, do this. I highly recommend it. And again, these are already cooked, but they were al dente because then we don't want these to be super mushy going in. Could I have used a smaller plate, my friends? My house smells amazing. Okay, now we're gonna open up the lid. Prepare to be amazed, my friends. Amazed. So the first thing we're gonna need to do, oh, it smells so good, is fish out those bay leaves. Ah, gotcha. Okay. So now, we're gonna take those lasagna noodles that I just broke up into pieces and just slide them on in. I think I'm gonna turn it to saute. I probably don't have to, but I'm going to. And that's not the only lasagna noodles I have, that's just all that fit on the plate. So I've got 2 plates of it, of what I had left, so I'm using it all. Okay. Then we're gonna add in some spinach. This is just a big handful of spinach. It's baby spinach. I probably don't need to turn it to saute, but I will. Now I have that chopped basil. That's going in. Who would not want a bowl of this deliciousness? At least one of the meatballs turned out. I'm gonna use these little pearl, mozzarella pearls. Again, I'm dairy-free most of the time. You don't have to put cheese in here. I'm simply going to put all of these, they'll just break up in there. These little pearls in there. Going in for a bite. I have to go in for a second bite. If you have never had lasagna soup before, why not, my friends? Especially with a delicious piece of crusty bread. I will link this recipe below, the video for it. You guys love that bread? Give this video a thumbs up if you are excited to make lasagna soup, or if you were just excited to spend time with me today. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends. Oops. So good. This soup warms up beautifully. It freezes well. It was so delicious the next day. I would love to hear from you if you try this recipe, what you think about it.